This is the Flex Network. Flex on everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Flex Network. I am your host, Shane Seeley. You can follow me on Twitter at the Flex Network 1. Today, I'm joined by the prodigal son himself. He's back, baby, and he's here to talk fantasy football. We got Brandon Adam. You can follow him on Twitter at Brandon D. Adam 19. Brandon, welcome back, brother. How the hell are you doing?
Oh, dude, it feels good to be talking some fantasy football with you again.
Yes.
We'll get our other fledgling part of this show, Mike Dickinson, here pretty soon. But we will proceed. And sorry for the lateness, everybody.
Yeah, we're going to proceed with caution because at some point Mike Dickinson is going to jump on the show, and we just had to, we had to go live because the people expect it. We expect to be on time, so here we are. Okay, Brandon, today what we're going to do is we're going to be breaking down the NFL big board. So there's a ton of big boards out there, but we got to support our guys over at playerprofiler.com. We had, of course, Cody Carpentier on the show just last week. So go hit that up. But for those who want to follow along, there is a link in the info, the show info. But essentially, just go to playerprofiler.com and go to the big board section, and then you'll be able to follow along. And basically, what we want to do today is we want to just have a look at where these quote experts are mocking the skill position players, including the quarterbacks, just to get a good idea. Because Brandon, we in the fantasy community, we like to go into our holes, watch a ton of tape, do all the data analysis, pretend to be pro scouts, come out and talk about how much we love these players, right? And you and I were having a very interesting conversation about Rachaad White at the start of the show, because I think we both have him pretty definitively as our RB3 at this point, right? Isaiah Spiller, unfortunately, has just taken an absolute dive. He just hasn't shown the athleticism. And so, look, he didn't have the productivity on the field for reasons we've discussed in the past. But now that he doesn't have the athleticism scores as well to say, listen, okay, maybe it was just, the coaching staff making those decisions. We say, okay, who's going to be our RB3? Well, Rachaad White. He stands out, right? But then you look at where he's going on the big board and you say, okay, does the fantasy community like this guy a little bit more than the real NFL? Because we know, in particular, especially at the running back position, but the data shows at wide receiver as well, draft capital is so important.
Yep.
And so that's what we wanted to dive into. But listen, okay, we're going to bury the lead here because there's something that I want to talk to you about on the air, because this Javonte Williams hype, I would say, I love Javonte, okay? We're on the same page. We love him as a player. But what I was telling you, and I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking here, Brandon. I promise
I know you're...
I got to set this up for the people, okay? So Javonte Williams, we love him, okay? Our boy Alan Seslowsky was doing a mock draft, and welcome to the show, Michael Dickinson.
There he is. There's our guy. We got the whole family here
there
now. Let's do
this. This is perfect. We got the wet blanket on the show, so
yes.
Maybe he'll add some color to this. So, Mike, we were just talking about how our boy Alan Seslowsky, of course, at Alan Seslowsky on Twitter, he was doing a mock draft on his RotoWire show yesterday, a Dynasty startup, and Javonte Williams was the RB2 that was drafted. Okay, totally defensible. I love it, right?
Yep.
But I just sometimes question, okay, like this little nagging thing in the back of my head says, okay, this guy is electric. When he has the ball in his hands, he looks amazing. Okay, I get this shudder of, could this be a Kenyon Drake situation, Mike, where we see him with the ball in his hand, he looks amazing, we're screaming at the coaching staff, give this guy the workload, and then he gets the workload and he doesn't quite perform because having too many touches breaks him down. Having too many touches takes away that lightning burst. And so I'm just saying, his entire career in college, he had Michael Carter. Last year, he had Melvin Gordon. Am I being crazy? Am I being ridiculous? Brandon, I'm going to throw it to you because you've been waiting. I've been doing a lot of talking. Go, Brandon.
Okay. So I love your concern. I get it. Like, everybody should proceed with caution with every player and kind of check boxes. But when we watched this guy last year, he was obviously the most efficient player or running back in the league with the workload he was given. And when he actually got the touches, he was producing top RB1 weeks each time. The one thing I love about him is that he is a 3-down back. He can do it all, man. He can pass block, he can catch, he can do everything, and he's a thick body. He reminds me of Nick Chubb when he's running the rock. He looks built, he looks stout, and it's not his fault that he got put into teams that had talent at the position already. It's not fair to judge that like he can't hold up to a full workload because of those reasons. I want to give him the chance, and I'm going to draft him like he can do this because I think he's built for it. His body looks like he's ready for it. Like I said, he reminds me so much of Nick Chubb, Marshawn Lynch when he runs the rock. Like, this guy is tough as nails and finishes runs like nobody's business. And I'm going to draft the upside, especially because, like you said before the pod started, the Denver Broncos don't have picks, man. Like, they really don't. And if they let Gordon walk, that means they are completely comfortable with this guy stepping in and being an old school workhorse back. And I think that is where the direction they're going. And I'm drafting as such. And I think he has not only top 5 upside, but I think he really can take that step like JT did last year. I can totally see that happening. And I'm going to draft as such because I don't want to miss out. But I already have him in a ton of dynasties, so I got him on the cheap.
Yeah, Javonte right now, he's one of those players where the fantasy community is so far in that bandwagon that even if you wanted him at this point, like, unless you're doing a startup, he's pretty much untouchable. Yeah. And it's just for the people in town. I updated this last week, so we know the NFL's crazy, but I don't think Denver's made any trades in the recent week. Their first pick is number 64, which is, for those out there counting, it's the last pick in the second round. And they've got two 3s, 2 4s. So here's the thing, right? This is a pretty, I would say, deep running back class, right? There's not a lot of sizzle to top, but there's a lot of guys like Rachaad Whites, like Zamir Whites, that
Tyler Algier,
Tyler Algiers, Dameon Pierce is like, these guys can come into a team and make a difference. And I suspect that the sweet spot for a lot of these players is going to be in rounds 4 and 5, right? Because there is, I mean, it's like that Spider-Man gif or meme where they're all pointing at each other, right? Like, they're all very, very similar. And so my only concern is that if Denver decides, maybe they trade back to that 64th to acquire a few more picks in the middle rounds.
They probably will.
And then they take a dart. I mean, that would be smart, right? To take a dart throw at one of these running backs. And then look, like, what if Dameon Pierce, let's just throw a guy who we like. What if Dameon Pierce lands in Denver? Do you think that they're just going to give Javonte the 80-20 split or 70-30 split?
I think it would be more like 65 if that happened. Because Mike Boone's actually serviceable, boys. And he's actually a good player, and I don't mind him. Like, he's a sneaky handcuff if they don't go get a real backup in the draft here. He's a sneaky handcuff for JW guys.
Boone was one of the first guys that Patton signed when he came over from Minnesota. Boom. So Patton drafted Boone into Minnesota. He was, and if you remember, Boone was in one of the rare situations where the double handcuff was real and it was fabulous. So I had like 1 or 2 weeks where I rostered Cook and I rostered Madison. They were both hurt, and Boone posted numbers.
Boone posted numbers. Yep.
I think I need to officially get a GIF a little video that says it's real and it's fabulous, baby.
Yeah. That's a nod to Seinfeld.
There you go.
But anyway, I like the Boone take on it. I think that kind of what you're saying. Sorry, I had to cut out there for a second, but I agree with what you're saying. I think that they would be completely fine running in a 65-35 or a 70-30 split. I think you're going to see it look more like not that they're going to want to protect Russ, but like, I think they want to protect their investment in Javonte. Yeah. And it makes sense. Those guys coming from Green Bay had more success this season running a bigger split with Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. The question is, which role does Javonte play? And I think that the roles are shifting in Green Bay. I think that AJ is moving more towards that early down guy, and I'm blanking on his name.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is going to be the third down passing down guy, down passing down back. And I think Javonte has a skill set to play all three, and he's physical enough to play all three. But I think that you'll see him start to fit in one of those roles. So one of those guys in the later rounds one of the 4th, 5th round guys does make sense for them.
Sure.
See it. If James Cook drops, would you like to see that? As fantasy owners, we would not like to.
I would hate that because James Cook is actually good.
But to see those two in a backfield together,
that'd be fun.
That makes you feel real good as a Russ owner.
Yeah, for sure. Russ would. I'm telling you, Russ is gonna bring. He's gonna revolutionize this whole Denver offense. Like he's gonna bring so much more explosiveness to it, and I think JW can fit in that Alvin Kamara. Like he can literally get five catches a game, and he can take it and be very successful with it. I think that's why I said he's a complete back. Like he really is a complete back, and I just hope they don't go too crazy and draft somebody too high. But anyway, I think he's an RB1 easily, no matter what this year. Period. It's the question is he top 5 or is he bottom 5? Like that's like that of that RB1 class. Like, but that's where I'm at with him. But he's a can't miss. Like he's gonna be a stud this year. Period.
I love that. It's Mike. It's really interesting that you brought up James Cook because I keep comping James Cook and Zamir White as last year's Devontae and Michael Carter. So to get James Cook, here's the thing though, like James Cook, actually, I don't even know. We got to look at our big board that we're going to be talking about shortly here. But I mean, I could see James White go, or not James White, good Lord.
James Cook.
He's basically James White, but James Cook going really in round 3, round 4. And I mean, maybe they take a shot on him. So, all right, we got a couple comments here. We got Ryan.
What?
He says, just got killed this morning. Guys got hit by what? It says Dwayne. I don't know if this is real or not. It says Dwayne Haskins just got killed this morning. No, I don't think that's fake.
Shut up.
That's fake.
Stop it.
I don't know. Maybe it's real, but I haven't seen anything on that. We're not gonna discuss that. Okay. Boys, we're here to talk big boards. We're here to talk big boards. Again, for those who are listening, you guys can go to playerprofiler.com and go to the big board section, and we're just going to follow along. Again, so Cody Carpentier, our guy over at Player Profiler, he goes and he indexes various, quote, professional mock drafts, and that's what we're going to use, right? So let's get at it. All right, boys, I'm going to throw it to you. What position you guys want to discuss first? What's the most tantalizing?
Wide receiver. Come on now.
Whew. Let's go. Let's go. All right. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about the big board. I'm just going to go and pull it up here. All right, so we're talking about wide receiver. And what's interesting is that I went and I color-coded all of the wide receivers going in round 1. And right now, the mocks have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers being mocked in round 1, and that doesn't even include Christian Watson. For those of you who listen to Moving to Chains, which it's one of my go-to shows, he's being mocked pretty consistently in round 1. So I mean that's a lot of wide receivers, but we got to talk about the first guy off the board here, Garrett Wilson, and then right after that, Drake London, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, and Jahan Dotson. So Mike, I'm going to throw it to you here. So we got Garrett Wilson going at number 11. And just what would your thoughts be? Garrett Wilson being the first wide receiver off the board. I mean, do you have a preference in terms of the high end talent?
I do. I prefer, and Brandon's going to hate me for this. No, I prefer the maybe not Jameson Williams. He would be at the bottom of this. I prefer the Garrett Wilson, Olave, that style receiver to the Drake London, Treylon Burke type of receivers. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that scares me a little bit about those guys versus you look at the Garrett Wilsons and the Olaves, like those guys are super quick. They're in and out of breaks really quickly, and their skill set is kind of what the NFL is building towards today. I think that the Treylon Burks and the Drake Londons of the world are extremely valuable pieces. The landing spot is so crucial when you're looking at those guys. So if those guys land in the wrong spot, you're going to end up, and not, I don't want to trigger you, but you're going to end up with a Kenny Golladay like situation where you have somebody that has, and those guys have more talent than Golladay does. But I think that it's one of those things where the range of outcomes is really what scares me on it. Like you see the way the NFL is going right now. The NFL is going speed. The NFL is going speed. So
win in space. That's all they want.
Yeah. So, and I think, looking at looking at the Burks of the world and looking at the Londons of the world, Brandon, I know that you do a ton of tape analysis and you're comfortable with the skill set that you see on them. I don't do as much tape analysis, so I do a much more meta analysis. I'll look at a little bit of tape, I'll listen to you, I'll listen, and I'll read a bunch of different stuff. I'm seeing some guys that look at tape and some guys that I trust saying that those guys have separation issues that are going to plague them at the next level. So that's my level of concern with it. I don't think that any of them are going to be bad picks in the next 3 years. Like, I think from an NFL standpoint, somebody's going to take them who wants to utilize their skill set. And for us as dynasty players, they're probably all going to be relatively similar. So now at the top of the draft and at the top of our drafts, you got to get a little bit granular. You got to get a little bit nitty gritty. So for me, the way that I like to play, I am extremely risk averse. You know this when we talk about quarterbacks. You guys love the Trey Lances and the Malik Willis's of the world. I much prefer the boring guys, the pocket passers that might have a little bit lower ceiling, but a higher floor and don't give you the broad range of outcomes. So for me, that's the type of receiver that I like. But for you guys, I think you're in a little bit different position.
I got you. Like,
guys,
totally respectable take there, Mike. I like it.
So there is actually an article out here, sorry to interrupt, guys, of Dwayne Haskins being killed. So
holy shit,
it might actually be legitimate.
Schefter just posted it on Twitter. Dwayne Haskins stand at Ohio State before struggling to catch on. Died this morning when I got hit by a car in South Florida.
Wow,
life comes at you, guys. Just enjoy every day. You're not guaranteed shit.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Well, Ryan, I apologize. Rest in peace.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan. Like, damn,
that's scary stuff, man. It's
live
every day, and that's why. Look, I mean, we're all busy people, but we still find time to jump on and talk about stuff we love. So life's too short, guys. So rest in peace.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
So Garrett Wilson. I love Garrett Wilson and his skill set. His skill set is for the modern era football team. I get it. I think he can succeed in more teams overall than Drake London or Treylon Burks. I think you are correct in saying that. But if these two fall into the correct place, I'm telling you, they have wide receiver stability upside. Like, it's going to be consistency. It's going to be third down catches. They're going to get volume. That's the type of guys they are built to be. And that's what I look for in a wide receiver one, especially, is who can handle volume. Who can be that guy that can take a fucking beating, that can take it and be able to secure catches in tight spots when the actual coverage is good? Who is that guy in this class? And to me, it's Treylon Burks and Drake London. Those two, when it's time to meet, the truth is when that ball is coming in and it's the last half second and you got to make a move and get physical at the stem of your route, they are studs at that. That's how they win. And they're not going to win by routing you up all tight like Garrett Wilson will and make you look foolish. Like, that's just not what they do. Like, it's just two different type of guys. And I respect both philosophies, but yeah, I really, if Treylon Burks goes to Green Bay, boys, I'm all in. Like, it's all in, like 100% all in.
Yeah,
like,
I think
there's no way I'm going off of him.
I think that getting these guys drafted and asking them to be the one of one in the offense is a difficult proposition. So I think that, like, if you look at a situation, I'm a Philly fan, so I look at the Philly situation. If you look at one of those guys falling to somebody like Philly, who has a pass catching tight end, who's going to draw coverage, who has a Devontae Smith on one side, who will probably push over and be the Z, and then you're asking one of those guys to be the Alpha X. That's great. That's an ideal situation.
I want London and Philly so bad. I think that fits.
That'd be sick. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, and I think those guys are going to thrive in that situation. It's kind of like but if you run into a situation like what Golladay ran into in New York, where they're asking him to be the one, I don't know that they can be the one of one, because when you have teams that are scheming to take them away, it just doesn't work. They need somebody. If they're one-on-one, I love them one-on-one. They're going to win one-on-one. They're going to win in those red zone situations. They're going to win in those third down situations. It's going to be great.
Yep.
As long as they have somebody complimentary to go with them.
I think so. I was just because I was so hot last night because talking to Matt, the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the wall. Like, you guys don't understand the voice behind the wall that we deal with on a daily basis. But he had me triggered last night about Drake. But go ahead.
Just to add to that, like, Matt's a character on the show.
Yeah,
times that by 2. That's Matt in real life.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's great. But he had me a little bit upset last night. So I just dove right back into it and watched more and more and more of Drake last night. And there's a cut up I found of him against Notre Dame, and they were doubling, tripling Drake on the outside, and he was finding soft pockets and able to figure out open space, and he was able to outsmart the defenses quite a bit. He actually showed me he's able to adjust to when he is getting bracketed like that, when he is getting covered over the top and having two guys watching him, he was able to get open. So like that to me shows maturity in a young player, and that is amazing because Drake London, his breakout age was like 18 and a half years old. Like he came in as a true freshman and just completely killed it, but he was getting free releases every single snap in the slot when he had Amon-Ra St. Brown on the outside. So you're right. When he was uncoverable when he had another teammate to run with, but when he was having a little bit harder time when it was just him later on when he was a junior.
I think that last year we would have taken Jamar Chase as the top wide receiver consensus off the board, regardless of where he went, what kind of offense he went to. I think we were in on that. And I think think that this year you're looking more at like, all right, it's landing spot dependent. Let's see who else he goes to. And honestly, it's landing spot dependent and who else goes in the draft around him. Like if for some reason the Eagles take Drake London in the first and then come back and take somebody else in the second, or they go to a wide receiver needy team and oh God, get him out of here. And they take a wide receiver needy team, takes Drake London in the first and then comes back and hits guys in 3 and 4. And you have guys that can take pressure off him. That's all good, but it's extremely draft dependent. A lot of these rankings and how these teams shape up and how these prospects shape out and how they play out is largely going to be dictated by what happens the last weekend in April.
Hey, Matt, I see your comment. Go watch Brandon Marshall film and T. Higgins. That's who Drake London is going to be. Just shh.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up T. Higgins because he missed the combine and he had a lackluster pro day, and he balled out, man. He's showing that he is who we thought he was. He looked, his college tape looked amazing, and he is who he was in college. So I could see that, like I could see Drake London having some sort of like a T. Higgins type career where, maybe he's not going to be the alpha, but he can certainly be a top, a number 1 wide receiver, top 12 wide receiver in fantasy football for a decade. Like
I just think he's a walking 85 catch guy. Like I think he's going to be able to just rack up catches, and his yak ability is, I've never seen a dude at his size able to run bubble screens like he can. Like every time this dude catches a bubble screen, it's 9-10 yards every time. And he's just bullying everybody, and he is a tough SOB. And I just love players like that. And he's young, and he was a basketball player as well. So like you would think basketball player, soft player. Hell no, that's not who he is. Like this guy is a tough player, and he yaks it up. And that is the difference between him and Mike Evans and other people that people are comparing him to. He has more yak ability.
Can we talk about a guy that we really haven't? I mean, we've chatted about him on the show before, but we really haven't really dove deep in Jahan Dotson. He's been mocked as number 29. So I just first and foremost, I mean, how do you guys feel about Jahan Dotson being mocked that high? Essentially a first round pick. I mean, he's a separation specialist. He's a route running.
He's a stud.
I was going to say Savon. We throw around Savon a lot. He's a stud, right?
Yeah.
But so what are your thoughts? I mean, did you guys have a strong take on Jahan Dotson? Mike?
Do you want to go in, Mike?
No, you can go ahead.
Mike, okay, so I like Jahan Dotson. He was actually higher in my pre-draft stuff before everything came out, and all he did was check boxes, and he's like a forgotten player in this whole draft.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he has long arms. He can route run. He reminds me of Ayuk in a way, but with more polish. I think he's more polished than Ayuk, and I think he has a bigger route tree than Ayuk, but I think his catch radius is insane. And I think he fixes a lot of mistakes, and I think he's underrated. And I brought it up last night. I'm going to have a really hard time in drafts going between Jahan Dotson and George Pickens. I don't know which way I'm going to go. It's just going to be like, while I'm on the clock, it's going to be pressure for me on that one.
I feel like Jahan Dotson's the kind of player that, in a PPR league, he's a plug and play. He's probably going to file as a slot receiver, right? So he's 5'11", 178 pounds.
Yeah, he's heavier than that, though, at Combine, I think.
I think these are the combine numbers. 170.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's 22 years old. So Jahan Dotson, he was invited to the Senior Bowl. He didn't end up playing at the Senior Bowl because scouts probably said, or his agent probably said, "Look, you're being mocked in round 1 or 2. Don't do it. Don't do it because you might. The only thing you can do is you can hurt yourself." So, I like him. I've always liked Jahan Dotson. His best comparables: Tyler Lockett, Devontae Smith, T.Y. Hilton, Elijah Moore, and Scott Miller. Like
Boom.
that's when I close my eyes and I think, okay, I see Tyler Lockett with the type of player. And look,
I think he's Tyler Lockett with better high pointing skills. This guy mosses people at 5'11", man. He really does, and he has those long arms, and people don't expect it. It just looks like go gadget arms when he's up in the air, just like, and he just gets it. It's amazing.
He's got 9.5-inch hands, and he's only
Huge
5'11".
hands.
Like he's got massive mitts, right? That makes a huge difference. Like Odell Beckham, he wasn't a big demonstrative guy, but he had massive mitts, and
that's who I kind of compared him to Bateman and Beckham, like from last year. Okay. Like that's the kind of vibes I'm getting from Jahan
Dotson. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. We've seen it. I mean, you see that like the Jerry Judy's of the world. I mean, with Russ there, we're finally going to get to see what Jerry can be. But those are the types of wide receivers that the NFL loves at this point. And let's talk about the guy that you just mentioned. So George Pickens is one of the next players being mocked off the board. And so we got Christian Watson at number 41 and then George Pickens at number 43, right? So smack dab in the middle of round 2. George Pickens, like I could see George Pickens going to like, I mean, he wasn't healthy, right? Most of last year. If he goes to a team like Green Bay, like that guy has wide receiver 1 in this class upside if he falls to the right position with the right quarterback. So, I mean, how are we feeling about George Pickens? Because we really haven't, again, this is a guy we really haven't talked about too much on the show.
I think from a physical, from a tool standpoint, you love it. I mean, he's big, he's 6'3", he's 195. He's got the long arms. The Dominator rating isn't exactly where you want it to be. The Dominator rating was only 18.9%, but he broke out at age 18. So you kind of like that. Again, he falls in that range, that tier where it's really, really landing spot dependent. If he gets in the right offense with the right quarterback, he's going to be good to go. If he lands in the wrong offense with the wrong quarterback, you kind of worry about it. So like,
I don't know.
What? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 5-star athlete coming out of high school, guys. Like this guy, has pedigree to the gills. I honestly believe if he had if he had a clean year with no injuries or whatever, I think we would be talking about him in the top 3. Like he's real. Like I actually like his game quite a bit. He does every route. He's flexible in his routes. He sinks his hips. For a big guy, he runs routes like a small man. And he separates. He has more separation skills within the route than Drake London. I will give him that. Drake London is better in the air, in my opinion, but George Pickens is a better route runner right now. And it's just really it's injuries that have prevented us from seeing the top end of what he could have been. But he is a 5-star athlete. He has the pedigree, boys, and I love that. If he fell to anybody that's going to Green Bay, guys, I'm in. Like anybody, like it.
Do you think
they can figure it out?
It's in the range of outcomes that Green Bay takes 2 wide receivers in this draft.
100% they're going to. 100%.
1 or 2 wide receivers. And I think that's fantastic.
100% they're going to.
And here's the thing with George Pickens, guys. He's 21 years old. Like he just turned 21 years old. He's young. Yeah. So he's going to be a player like T. Higgins, like
Drake.
DJ Moore,
young.
Like the Drake that look, even if it takes a year or 2 to develop, to break out because they're so young, that's a scary thought.
That's his value's insulated because he's so young. Like he's going to be given more chances because of his youthfulness. I'm telling the NFL, they are willing to give day 1 and day 2 capital guys chances if they're young, and if they broke out young in college. That is exactly who George Pickens is, and I like him a lot, man. I texted you guys a couple days ago. Like if he's gonna drop to the 2nd round in rookie drafts, and he's giving me T. Higgins vibes of the value of what the guy that's in the second round that could become the wide receiver 1 of the class. Like that's who he has that range. I like him a lot.
I just had a thought, guys, and maybe maybe put me back on this pedestal here, but like I'm a little bit scared because Aaron Rodgers, spoiler alert, he's sometimes a tough personality to get along with.
Sure.
And a guy like George Pickens, coming off a year that was essentially a write-off. Yes, he had to experience the national championship, but he really didn't do anything, right? He was clearly still hurt. Do we worry that like if Green Bay goes and drafts one of these young quote work in progress players, like developmental players, that he's just gonna like work them too hard and essentially bully them out of the freaking league? Like, wouldn't it be better to get a more? Sure. Yeah, wouldn't it be better to get a little bit older, maybe like one of these Senior Bowl players on the team, like maybe like a Christian Watson that's showing that he can produce and I
think Christian Watson's going to end up being a trap. I think he's going to end up being a trap.
That's a hot take.
I think he's going to end up being a trap. I think the more I dug into him, I mean, he dropped 10% of his passes, boys. And like, that's at the moment of truth, that's not great. And like our boy Sky Moore only dropped 2% of his passes. Just for some, maybe. Just for some. Like, I would take Sky Moore before Watson. Like, that's just me.
I did look. I mean, look. It was a couple months ago, but like in that roster watch versus Roto Wonderworld mock draft, I took Sky Moore over Christian Watson. This was after the Senior Bowl, so I think Sky Moore is a safer prospect. Now, the thing about Christian Watson though is it's about that massive upside, right?
Upside, I get it. The upside could
destroy the NFL.
He could be Martavius Bryant, or he can be, like a Mike Evans type guy. Like that's faster, than Mike Evans. Like, it's just his range of outcomes, his bustability is high. Like very high. I think he has that kind of in him. But if he fell to the Chiefs, I trust the Chiefs to get everything out of him. Like, that's where, landing spot is huge. So if he went to, let's say, like Carolina or somewhere that's terrible, like that would make me very hesitant. like I love his athleticism. I love he like his traits are off the charts. I love that, but he better land in the right coaching staff.
Yeah. So this is something that Mike Yeager is bringing up right now, and I think this is actually a pretty sharp take here because
I was just going to say this actually.
Yeah. So and there you go. The mics converging here. Don't you think that they'll confer with Rodgers on a choice? Apparently, Rodgers wasn't part of the decision-making process in previous years, obviously, but I would say things have shifted, and I totally agree, Mike. I think that, and Dickinson, maybe you want to comment too.
Yes, I mean, you got a guy that you made the highest-paid quarterback in the league. You're paying him. You're locking him in for $50 million plus a year. You let your alpha number one wide receiver, possibly the number one wide receiver in the entire league, walk. You accumulated. You got two first-round draft picks, so you know that Rodgers is coming back to make a Super Bowl run. He's not coming back to be average. They haven't signed anybody in free agency. You know they're going to draft skill guys. So it makes sense that, they're going to let him weigh in. And if he says, he's got connections, I know that he's not, I guess he's probably not supposed to be part of this draft process, but I'm sure that he'll load the front office with questions. He'll reach into his college ranks. Tell me about this guy. How is he to work with? How is he in the locker room? Is he going to listen at me when I yell at him? Is he into kombucha? Like all the shit that Aaron Rodgers worries about, like I'm sure that he'll vet it all the way through, and he will be a big part of the process. It doesn't
for the record,
not to be.
For the record, I've just started like dabbling in kombucha. It's delicious. So for those of you who haven't tried it, like it's fantastic, man. It makes you feel good. It's like it's got a little bit of caffeine, but it's low in calories. It's delicious. It's refreshing.
Dude, I just want to out you on one thing. Shane literally said this when we were talking.
Yeah.
He had a martini last night and he felt puffy.
I feel puffy today.
Like that line had me rolling pre-pod, man. I was laughing so hard.
I like my martinis extra dirty, okay? So I have lots of olive juice in it, and it's fantastic.
That salt goes straight to the cheeks.
What can I say? It goes straight to the cheeks, man. I'm not the young buck that I used to be. My system takes a little bit longer to process. It's the neck.
It's the neck.
Dude, I think I'm older than both you guys. If I eat too much fucking pizza before I go to sleep, I wake up feeling hungover, and I haven't had a drink.
I had pizza last night too. Yeah, that's what it is, Mike. Martinis and pizza.
It probably is. It's probably the salt and the sugar in the pizza, and then the salt and the olive juice. Dude, shit doesn't work the same way.
Hey man, Tom Brady says get those tomatoes out of your life because that's what causes inflammation.
I also had.
I battle that with
turmeric. I had a bocconcini salad yesterday with tomatoes. I had pizza and I had a martini. You see, I was doomed. I'm feeling puffy, and I don't like it.
Hey,
we got one more wide receiver. You sound like George Costanza right now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling puffy, boys. I'm feeling We are on the rails.
Okay,
let's go.
So, all right. So this is a player that you guys have been talking about a lot in the chat. I'm not quite there on him yet, but the NFL seems to be. His name is one Bo Melton out of Rutgers. He's being mocked at number 83, which is definitively in the third round. Brandon Adam, you go talk about your boy Bo Melton.
Bo Melton is going to be a dark horse in rookie drafts in the third round. That's going to pay. I really believe this is a guy. If you actually just look at his career, the poor guy was just cursed with the worst offensive line and the worst quarterback play in college football. And this guy's target share grew every single year. But when he came to the combine, he ran routes for people live. That was impressive. That's what caught my eye mid-combine. And then once I start seeing Cody Carpentier talking about Bo Melton as his guy, like in the late rounds, I'm so in on him just because the metrics are there. He reminds me so much of a kind of Stephon Diggs type of build. He has that in him. I like that as well. It's like him and John Mechie kind of seem similar to me when they run routes. When I watched them in the combine, like they were kind of mimicking each other, but Bo Melton is more explosive. Like he really is a beast, and he has a spark. What's his spark? I have it right here. There it is. Bo Melton. He ran a 4.34 at the combine, 97th percentile. His speed score was 103.6, 88th percentile. His burst score 125, 73rd percentile. And unfortunately, right here, player profile has his comp as Tyler Lockett. I love this kid. His college target share grew every single year and ended at 31%, 93rd percentile. Even though he was on a trash ass team, this guy. His coaches wanted him to get the ball because he was like their only hope. So I like his metrics. I like his measurables. He's somebody I'm taking shots on.
All right, so here's a little piece of strategy for you. So I've been doing a ton of mock drafts. I got hooked up with somebody on Twitter who is trying to build out a mock draft ADP for these rookies. So I've been in seven mock drafts in the last 3 or 4 days. Split a mix of super flex and one quarterback, either. Depending on where I've drafted from, I've either gotten Bo Melton in the back of the 4th round, or he's gone entirely undrafted. So
that's wild.
So if you see a precipitous fall in your draft rooms, and obviously this won't happen if you're in leagues with any of us because we're going to gobble him up late 3rd, early 4th. But what you can do, I acquired Adam Troutman this way when he came out. As you're getting back towards the end of the draft, guys get bored. They're not really engaged. Throw out fab money for a mid to late 4th. Throw out $5-10 worth of fab. They'll be like, I'll take the fab. I don't really want to go on this pick. I'm down on this pick. Throw that money out. Pick up that extra pick in the 4th and grab a guy like Bo Melton. You will thank me for it. You will thank Brandon for it. You'll thank Shane for it. And we will only take 10% of your league winnings down the line.
Dude, I'm telling you, Bo Melton, there's a hive of us right now, dude. Like it's been, I've been seeing more and more Bo Melton. And it's just because of his measurables, and he has good burst, man. He's athletic.
Yeah, so I think that talking about this, we talk about this in our hive and our Twitter community. We are deep into this. We're deep into rookies. We're deep into fantasy. We're diving in. We're getting skanky with these guys. By and large, speaking to the larger fantasy community, there probably aren't people that even know who Bo Melton is, where he played, even what position he plays. So this is where you leverage your offseason work and offseason knowledge to dynasty championships.
He's a perfect taxi squad guy.
Yeah,
like
perfect.
Throw him on your taxi squad and just let him marinate. And maybe you got something in a year. Like that's the type of guy that Bo Melton is. I take shot when it's in the 4th round. There's guys that if their measurables are off the charts and they're just on trash teams, just take the shot, because in the pros, man, they find those traits and they love those traits and they want to use those guys. You can't win being an average athlete most of the time.
Think about him as like a Josh Palmer type guy.
Boom. I love great comp. Like that's a good comp. I like that. Josh Palmer.
Well, here's the thing, boys, is like if Bo Melton, after blazing at the combine, he also had a 6.98 3-cone drill, which means he's agile, right? Anything under 7 is what we like to see. He's going to be on people's radars if he goes in the mid-3rd round. Like, that's just a fact, right? So that's just something to keep in mind.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh. So Bo Melton, I got his yak numbers, right? So he ranked top 5 in yak in college for this draft prospects right now. His average was 6.4 yards after the catch, and he was 3.2 after contact. So he maximized his time when he had the ball like that. Unfortunately, is just his team was terrible. Like that's why Isaiah Pacheco, your guy, is a guy that struggled because his line was backed up 3 yards before he even touched the ball. Like that poor guy I felt terrible watching his tape because like it's really a toss up on who is this guy, because his O-line just could not create any alleys or gaps for him to run through. But Bo Melton, he ranked ahead of Sky Moore in yak. So I'm just like Bo Melton's a guy you want to take a shot on.
I like that. Okay. Do we want to do a shout out? I mean, you guys have the board in front of you of any of these wide receivers, or we're already at 41 minutes. Should we touch on the running backs?
We got to talk a little bit about Treylon Burks because everybody.
You know what? I got an idea. Let's do wide receivers today, and then next week we'll talk running backs.
Yeah, running backs that's fine, and everybody has been a little bit down on Treylon Burks because of the combine, and that is something. When you're this big, when you're 225 and you're 6'2" and some change, if you're running in the 4.5s, that's good, guys. Like that's still good. His speed score was still 106, 87th percentile, guys. Like, don't overthink this too much. Like, he is a guy that is gonna if he goes to the right place and they can maximize his athleticism and get him into creative spots, I think he is going to be one of those guys that will flourish. Like, he needs to be used as an AJ Brown, as a Deebo Samuel, and that is the type of profile he has. Let him be that physical beast at the point of contact, at the point of the catch that he is. He needs to go. If he goes to a conservative QB, that's when I got some possible concerns. I want him to go be matched up to a guy that's just going to rip it to him because he trusts him to make a play when there is tight coverage. I'm telling you, if he goes to a place where it's super conservative and that is going to be a mixture that I don't like. So, but he is still an elite prospect, even though he ran a 4.5 40. It's okay. Like, people had this unrealistic like pre-combine expectation that he was going to run in the low 4.4s. That was not ever going to happen.
Well, and I think that's what it is, Brandon. It's like, it's about expectations, right? If people were saying like high 4.3s.
Yeah, that's out of control. That's not. He's not DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
never
that
was.
would have been DK Metcalf level of athleticism. And to your point, like,
it's AJ Brown.
Still faster. Like, that percentile matters, right? Like the size, speed, and look, he didn't melt faces. We thought he was going to melt faces. Breece Hall melted faces, which we loved, and that's, we checked all those.
Kenneth Walker melted faces,
or according to Matthew.
According to Matthew, he's
can't
just
get
straight.
outside. Stop it.
Just needs to get like I like last night. I was literally just like shaking my head. I love you, Matt, but man.
Okay. So going back to Treylon Burks, the big board has him at 23. I've seen a lot of mocks at 24 going to Dallas. Okay?
I like it.
Yeah.
That seems to make a lot of sense, right? They have an obvious need. Amari Cooper is gone. Michael Gallup is still going to be
RIP.
Cedric Wilson is gone. So, I mean, look, Dalton Schultz, congratulations. You had a fantastic year. We like you. But if Treylon Burks goes there, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be Treylon Burks. And Dak Prescott, man, who I feel like last year in dynasty startups, he was like the QB 5-6. People were right around where that, like Joe Burrow talk is right now. Everybody's like, we love Joe Burrow. Not quite the running quarterback, but we love him. That was Dak Prescott last year. And if he gets Treylon Burks, man, I think it's going to be wheels up again.
Yeah, where he is being, I've only seen him mocked to Green Bay, Dallas, and those are the two. Like,
Which
it
means
seems like everybody's hearing that that's the interest for Burks is those two teams, man. And if he what did Devontae Adams run in his 40? He ran a 4.6. He ran over a 4.6, guys. So let's just relax about his 40 and just draft the upside and the ability of what this man could be evolved to, and consider that he had horrible QB play, guys, like horrible. And he still caught 71% of his passes. Like that's elite stuff, man. Even with bad QB play, he was able to do that. His catch radius is the biggest of anybody in this class. Anybody. Like that's what he does. I call Drake London and him erasers, man, because they erase mistakes by QBs all the time. And that is what makes them special, is that they are able to create that time and space, and be able to adjust in midair when there's a bad throw behind them, and they're able to adjust outside of their frame and go get that ball. That's what separates them to me.
You don't have to convince me. I still.
No.
Here's the thing. Like I've been, and maybe it's just because it's so hard to block out the noise. You guys know me. I've always been a Chris Olave guy, right? But I had him as like my wide receiver 4. Or it was him and Jameson Williams. I think I've got him over Jameson Williams right now, just because we were chatting. I see Chris Olave and I see Brandon Cooks, like that type of player. And look, Brandon Cooks, he's flirted with wide receiver 1 upside on any given season. He's still got the speed. He's still relevant, right? Minus the concussions, which always gives you a little bit of concern.
Scary.
Right? For the most part, he's been healthy, and so he's a player that is going to continue to evolve his game. He's the type of player that maybe he might not be the wide receiver 1 on a team, but he's going to be the wide receiver 2. But he's going to be productive in fantasy football, and that's where I see Chris Olave. Yeah. The thing about Treylon Burks, though, man, and why I'm like, why he could still and should still be the wide receiver 1 on most boards is because of that upside. We've seen it with AJ Brown. We've seen it now with Deebo Samuel. We've seen glimpses with players like Laviska Shenault, and Treylon Burks could be that. Now, people are saying, like the haters out there are saying, he's this year's N'Keal Harry. He's a better separator than N'Keal Harry. He's a better overall player than N'Keal Harry. And let's call it what it is. The Patriots are not good at drafting wide receivers. They're just not.
Or they're not good at developing them. Like they're not good at developing outside wide receivers. Like I honestly believe they have, like their offense is so geared to the dink and dunk. They don't know how to even fucking draft an outside wide receiver. Like it just seems like that to me. I that's what I've been seeing, and I think
you're right.
Mac Jones deserves a legit big boy wide receiver on the outside, and if he got it, look out for Mac. Like I think he can be very good.
It ain't Devontae Parker. I mean, Devontae's a nice little band-aid, but it ain't Devontae. It ain't Kendrick Bourne either. Let me tell you, people.
It ain't Jacoby.
I think Jacoby's a great slot wide receiver. Like
I know. He fits his role. I got it. But people are trying to tell me wide receiver 1. I'm like, no.
No, I don't. No. I mean, no, I don't see Jacoby as being a wide receiver 1. Okay, so then if we're gonna keep talking, then let's go a little bit deeper. All right. There's been a lot of hate out there for Justin Ross, Clemson. So he's being drafted or mocked at 86, just after Bo Melton. I like Justin Ross, man. I just feel like he's this black box prospect because he was injured for so long. He had the neck injury early, and what was it? He had like a leg injury this last year.
Yeah, ankle, I think.
The ankle injury. Okay, so I mean, what am I missing? Like, don't you guys feel like if a team's willing to take a shot on Justin Ross somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round, that this is a guy that again is falling in? Like, I'm taking Justin Ross over Bo Melton, guys, just because of that upside.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, 100%. But Bo Melton is a dart. Like he's a dart. Like he's not somebody I'm like counting on working. He's a guy that I'm just taking shots on because I think he is athletic freaky. Like that's what I like. But honestly, Justin Ross reminds me of Michael Thomas, boys. Like he kind of reminds me of Michael Thomas. If you look at him in his freshman year, man, the way his slant game was, he reminds me of slant boy himself. Like that big guy that isn't that fast, that can just use his body and has great hands. Like that's who he reminds me of, and doesn't have great yak ability. That's who Justin Ross is.
So funny. The fantasy gamers are so fickle that just because one guy has mastered something to an absolute T, he gets made fun of. He was a historical wide receiver.
Yeah. And he was wide receiver 1. Like,
yeah.
Like he was a superstar. Volume makes you a superstar, and when MT got it, but like Ross that's who I see when I see Ross. Like, can he be Michael Thomas? Like,
here's the PFF comps for Ross. So the first thing to understand about Ross is pre-injury in 2019 when they were talking about potential 2021 wide receivers coming into the draft, he was second behind only Jamar Chase. Like he outplayed T. Higgins when they were at Clemson together.
Yep.
He was the man, and the injuries took him down. So if he clears medical and a team is willing to take a shot on him, I think that as fantasy players, we have to give some credence to what these teams are willing to invest in these guys. If he drops 100%. If he drops to the 5th or 6th, I'm out. If he goes day 2, like back of the 3rd, I think that's great. Like, I think that's fine. So anyway, PFF comps, they have him comped to, here you go, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas, Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton.
God damn it.
Interesting.
Like, just call me Shooter McGavin, bro. Like that just, like, I just love that, dude. That's exactly who he is, and that's exactly who I saw when I was watching him on play. And when you got people just got to understand injuries are part of football, and if these guys are cleared, like, don't hold that against them. Like, it's like we got to learn that. Like, I had to learn that over time. And that's something I've lost out on good players because I was like, this guy can't stay healthy, blah, 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 blah. Everybody gets hurt at some point in football. That's just period. And just don't let that deter you too much. Like, if just don't let that happen because you'll miss out.
So Justin Ross, the only thing he did at the combine was a bench press, but he did perform at Clemson Pro Day. He ran a 4.64 his pro day, which then player profiler adds 0.052 to 4.69. That's slow. That's not good.
That's what my MT was, man. He's a slow route runner.
It's an 88.2% speed score.
Jarvis Landry, same guy.
It's not great. I don't know. It's like a 25th percentile.
But he's 6'4". But he's
speed adjusted. It's
okay.
height speed adjusted. Yes, he's even for his size, he's slow. But again, maybe he's still recovering from the ankle injury. It's what Mike said. If a team's willing to take a shot on him in round 3, I would even, say round 4. But then I get Brian Edwards vibes, and then it's like maybe I'm out. I'm probably out. But if a team's willing to take a shot on him in round 3, I'm in. Okay. And I think the fantasy community, man, because analytical snobs out there, they're going to be out on him. So he's probably going to fall to round 4, late round.
Like, you're going to be able to choose between him and David Bell. Who do you want?
Oh,
I still like David Bell. Man.
Me too.
I like David.
I think David Bell is an acrobat in the air. I think he can do a lot of good things.
Why does the fantasy community hate David Bell? Again, he came in
slow 4.62.
I guess
he tested poorly, but he's good on tape.
But he's thick, man. Like, he's a thick guy. Like, he's built to take a pounding. Like, he can run every route. People think he's slow because he runs under control. Like, he doesn't look all violent at it. Like, that's just not his game. Like, he's not violent. Like some guys try to kill grass when they're fucking stepping, right? This guy's just gliding. Like, that's how he plays.
I love this.
That's what I like.
This is perfect. Player profiler has David Bell comped to Anquan Boldin. That's perfect.
I fucking see that. Yes,
that's perfect. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm in on that. And look, Anquan Boldin had his moments, man. God,
dude.
I still remember. Do you guys remember that touchdown reception that he caught where he I think it's where he broke his nose,
broke his jaw.
Oh, it was his
jaw. His fucking jaw,
and
dude.
He held onto the damn ball. It was.
And then he played the next week, dude. Wired up.
Beast, man. The dude's an absolute monster. I loved Anquan Boldin. He was so fun to watch. Back in those Arizona Cardinals days, man. Oh, that was exciting. That was good football, man. They got robbed by the Steelers.
So Davante Adams is a guy that I see is a little bit of David Bell in his game. Like, I see that kind of similar kind of game. They ran very similar in height. I just see a smooth athlete, man, that knows how to play in space, that knows how to set up leverage. Mm-hmm. And knows how to manipulate DBs. That, it just tells me he's smart. Like, he is a smart player. And just much like Drake London, he's a smart guy. He's going to make you lean, and that's how he's going to win. Like, that's how he's going to get you. But David Bell, he's a forgotten man right now in drafts.
David Bell. So I'm looking at the big board here. He's being mocked at 56.
Yep.
You know what where that is, right? Like, that's round 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, round 2.
The NFL views him as a round 2 wide receiver. So why do we hate the man?
Because people get too in love with freaking speed, man. Like, it's just like, what do you run in pads? Like, what do you run in pads? Like, that's the same thing I say about Treylon Burks is like, did you ever see Treylon Burks getting pulled down from behind? Nah, didn't happen. He blew past people, dude, because people are terrified to tackle a 225-pound man at that speed. Like, that is just what happens to you when you see that guy coming at you. Like, you're making business decisions, dude. And that's exactly what happened. That's what makes Treylon special, is that he strikes fear in guys once he gets going. And that's David Bell is not Treylon Burks, but David Bell is just a smoother athlete than he is explosive. That's why I think about him.
It's also about game speed and processing speed.
100%.
I feel like David Bell processes the game very, very quickly.
100%.
He makes calculated decisions. He doesn't have a lot of wasted, inefficient movements. So he puts up mediocre numbers at the combine. He drops down people's boards, but he plays fast. He plays purposefully. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's an extremely efficient player.
Yeah, and he catches every ball, dude. Every ball outside of his frame, he wrestles it in, man. He has some of the best highlights of any of these guys when he's catching the ball. It's impressive, really is.
Let's okay, we're going to talk about one wide receiver here. One last one.
Okay.
One more up for the show, okay? So at 53, the board has Sky Moore. At 56, David Bell. At 58, Jalen Tolbert. And then the last player mocked in round 2 is your boy. Again, Brandon, you've got a lot of guys this draft.
I like him.
Alec Pierce. Cincinnati Bearcat. We've talked about
I really like the second round of this rookie draft. I really like this draft class. The meat of it, they got guys that there's a lot of guys that were like late bloomers almost, like Alec Pierce, like this guy that we're talking about now, this guy that fixed so many Desmond Ritter's passes. I just want to say that. But like, he is a freaky guy. He's 6'2", 6'3" almost, and he ran a 4.4, and he high points the ball. He reminds me of Mike Evans type of profile. He's more of a pure Mike Evans profile. His short routes aren't great. Yak ability is up in the air. Like, he shows some wiggle in some instances, and then sometimes he doesn't. Like, it's kind of weird. But he was a special teamer that kind of matured with the team and got given the shot last year, and he did really well. He can catch the ball outside the frame. I like guys that could evolve, and I think that is what I see in Alec. He has tools that I like to see. We'll see what team he goes to, and if they can develop them. But he could either by landing spot and coaching staff, he could be a mid-second round pick for me, or he could be a mid-third round pick for me. Like, it really is a dependent deal for me.
Yeah.
But I know Mike has watched a lot of Ritter. So what do you think on Alec?
Yeah. I mean, I like Alec Pierce. It's everything that you said. He's a tough physical receiver. He high points the ball well. He doesn't the short stuff worries you. He was a shot guy. Like his I think his what was his average depth of target? It was like 17, 18, wasn't it?
17. It was 17.
It was super deep. So I think that, again, he goes somewhere. Don't ask him to be a 1. He can go. I don't know if he could play the X. He might be a little bit better suited to play the Z. But like, ask him to be a complementary piece. And here's the other thing too, is you don't need to be, and I'm not saying he's going to be this, but this is just kind of a little more overarching strategic thing. You don't need to be the number 1 wide receiver on your team to be a wide receiver 1. Look at Juju Smith-Schuster was a wide receiver 1. Look at T. Higgins. Like, you don't need to be the wide receiver 1 on your team to be a fantasy wide receiver 1. So don't get locked into looking at depth charts. Don't get locked into looking at, oh, well, he's going to be the second or the third look out of the quarterback's eyes. Like, don't get locked in on that stuff. Understand the way that the offense works, the pass volume, the route trees that these guys run, how many shots they're going to take. You know, look at offensive coordinators. And we'll get into this much more in the offseason. I would imagine we'll start looking at coaching staffs, coaching tendencies, play calling tendencies, everything like that. This is just one piece of it. And that's why landing spot is so important
huge.
for these
guys. It's going to be huge for him. But like right now, I got John Mechie. I'll take John Mechie in the second over almost all those wide receiver besides Sky Moore. Like I think out of all those guys, John Mechie is the safest dude in the second round to me because he can do the most. Like his route tree is the widest. He can go deep. He has intermediate ability. He has bubble screen ability. He can be the one if the game plan determines that. Like if they deem that the right way to go. That Alec Pierce is definitely a raw prospect, but those traits, man, when you're 6'3" and you run a 4.4,
you can't teach that.
You can't teach that. Like, and you have ability of tracking the ball and being able to catch outside your frame. That you have a role in the NFL, period. It's up to you to develop everything else besides that. So
yeah, I think Alec Pierce, just to close it out here, guys, I think Alec Pierce is somebody that I want to draft to my team. I'm going to put him on my taxi squad. And throughout next season, like, he's not going to pop. I mean, he'll have maybe a few weeks, but like, for example, in best balls, I'm not going to draft Alec Pierce in any of my best balls because, you know, I feel like he's probably going to be a depth chart kind of guy. But what you want to see is more opportunities. So more starts, more routes run as the season progresses. Maybe he'll have a couple of weeks where he pops because he gets into the end zone. And then you can either keep him and have a fruitful wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3 on your team, or you can flip him because there's always going to be like a high for these athletic players out there, right?
100%. You can fall in love with all that stuff. And but that's what, you can fall in love. That's why he does make me nervous, is because I fall in love with metrics. Like I fall in love with just freaky athletes. Like, they'll figure it out. Like, you know, like, they'll figure it out, right? Yeah. Like the famous last words, they'll figure it out. But that's what I saw. Like what Matt is saying about Drake London is exactly what I see in Alec Pierce. Like what he describes as what Drake London is. And I mean, we can disagree on Drake, but that's what I see with Alec Pierce. The questions that he sees with Drake London, I think Drake has completely answered by the fact that he's able to play from the slot and the X and be moved to the Z and play pretty much right outside and play a tight end position almost. Like, he literally can do all those things for you. And that's what makes London he's a chess piece. Like, he's a freak, and that's what makes him different.
It always comes back to Drake London. All right, boys, let's end it there. Brandon, where do the good people find you?
Brandon D. Adam 19 on Twitter, boys. Like, just follow. And we've been definitely I've been pretty active on fantasy Twitter this last week. A lot of Ritter hype has been getting a little out of control. But Mike, dude, I will say this: Mike has been so early on so many guys, dude. I fucking like it's pretty impressive. But that's all I'm gonna say. We're over an hour.
Here's the problem is when you don't watch tape like I do. I watch very, very little tape. You got to figure out some way to make yourself relevant and be impactful. So I was able to kind of dive in a little bit deeper, look at some next level stuff. So this year, if it ends up working out on those guys with the Ritter, the Rashad Whites of the world, that's great. I'll take it as a W. If I can do it next year, then I might be on something, but it could just be dumb fucking beginner's luck.
No, man.
Let's not discount it.
Like, both of those guys, you were literally the first dude that said they are going to be in the first round of rookie mocks. Like, you literally said it. And I laughed. I was like, no fucking way Ritter's going to be there. But hey, man, if he falls to Seattle and he ruins my life, like I think is going to happen, I really think, just because the universe wants to mess with Brandon Adam. I think that's going to happen. But
my take, Desmond Ritter, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm Flex Shane. You can follow me on Twitter at the Flex Network 1. If you like what you listened to, if you like what you watched, please like and subscribe, comment. We love it. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for watching. For Brendan, for Mike, I'm Flex Shane, and we are the Flex Network.
Go Time.
This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody.